Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Don't Praise the Machine, your survivor's guide to the cultural apocalypse. And today, we're looking at this year's wackiest celebrity defamation court case, featuring a woman who's been familiar to myself and my co-hosts since she graced our Australian television screens in 2003 as someone called Tula in something called Fat Pizza. We're talking about Rebel Wilson, a woman who has made a second career out of being involved in defamation litigation, but this time, she's the one accused of slandering a former colleague. The whole saga starts with a warm bath after a Bondi Beach hives incident and a musical about an Outback debutante ball, and somehow escalates into a smear campaign, a Ghislaine Maxwell comparison, and PR firm employees privately texting each other, and I'm quoting the court record here, that their client is nuts. It's lawtainment at its most spectacular, but I cannot untangle the legal and reputational wreckage of Rebel Wilson's war on her own collaborators alone. I'm going to need a man who is acutely aware of just how litigious Rebel Wilson is in Australia and has been quietly calculating his own defamation exposure since we agreed to do this episode, and will be deploying the word allegedly liberally over the next hour. John, are you ready to hit your billable hour clicker, declare this episode as a tax write-off for continuing legal education, and walk us through the full allegedly unhinged, allegedly catastrophic, allegedly career-ending exhibit list of Rebel Wilson versus her entire professional network? Sir.
Wonderful, wonderful intro. Yes, I am ready. It actually hadn't occurred to me, but I will write this off as a continuing professional development seminar.
Yeah, exactly.
Get all of my, I can deduct all of my key light and my camera and my prompter, the whole thing, part of my CPD side hustle. Yeah, it's a wonderful story. Loyal listeners, loyal subscribers to the DPTM newsletter, which for anyone who doesn't know, you can sign up to at dptm.org.
Beautiful.
Into your email address. A couple of weeks ago, though, I did mention Rebel Wilson's legal saga in one of the newsletters, and it just got me thinking there is enough here, easily enough here for an episode. And I think we've probably talked about Rebel in passing on the show because she's a bit of a prominent figure in the Australian sort of late 90s, early noughties entertainment landscape, and she's a kind of weird, larger-than-life character, and someone who, as we'll be discussing, has had a bit of a side hustle in defamation proceedings for some time now. This is probably 10 years since she launched her own defamation trial, and she's back in court at the receiving end of a defamation suit. So she loves it. She probably knows more about defamation than most lawyers.
I remember, John, doing a little bit of research for this. Some of the things that came up, I was like, I had forgotten about that. I'd forgotten that years ago when she started to blow up in Hollywood, I remember there being talk that she was masking her age. And I was like, I forgot that.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
That's right. She's got a real, I mean, look, as you said, I don't want to be sued for defamation. I kind of do for self-destructive. I think that would be kind of a fun twist in the evolution of the podcast, but I can't really afford it. So
she was allegedly masking her age.
Yeah, she was alleged. So yes, but I mean, and this is an expression of opinion, which is defensible under defamation law. She comes off as a kind of slightly sociopathic sort of frenemy type character, which I love. And I think that's probably the secret to her success in Hollywood, because it's the kind of environment where you would succeed probably by bullshitting and throwing other people under the bus, which I've no doubt she's quite adept at. But it all started with the lie that she is even named Rebel Wilson. Her name is actually Melanie Elizabeth Bounds. And one of probably the funnest fact that you'll get out of this entire episode is that she was not named Rebel Wilson, but changed her name to Rebel. But not only that, she's the eldest of 4 children. Her sisters, one of them is Liberty. The other one is Annalise, but Annalise changed her name to Anarchy. And she spells it A-N-A, so Anna, Key, C-H-I, Anarchy or Anarchy. And a brother who uses the name Riot, R-Y-O-T. which I love.
This
Which I
sounds like the
love.
family for me.
Yeah, they just all sound like well-adjusted, great people. And I love that they've used kind of misspelling that would have been really trendy in about 1992 as well, like spelling riot with a Y. Her parents, she grew up in Sydney, and her parents were or are perhaps are professional dog handlers and dog show judges, which is great because it just reminds me of Best in Show. And it kind of adds to the possibility that she sort of just is a deeply kooky individual. But yeah, so I mean, you and I will remember, like a lot of Australians who grew up when we did, her initial sort of steps towards Hollywood fame. A lot of people who will know her when she was in Bridesmaids, for example, which was one of her first big breaks. And I think it was a role supposedly written specifically for her, probably because she threatened someone.
She had dirt. She had dirt on someone.
She had dirt on someone, and she was, I think, Matt Lucas's character's sibling in Bridesmaids. Is that right?
And there was a story that they were living together as like roommates, and I remember even that irritating me because they would go on talk shows, and it would be like Jimmy Fallon, and one of them would say, "Oh yeah, like me and Rebel or me and Matt." We're just like flatmates, trying to give this impression that they were like in a kind of cheap share house somewhere in London, or like these like fully grown multimillionaires, and they would just be like, "Oh yeah, he leaves the toilet seat up,
exactly,
and we just get in our jammies,
just
and
in our track pants."
And we'll just be skint after the weekend, because we'll go out for a couple of pints, and we'll get home. We'll just have to be like, "Oh, we got to go to Sainsbury's and cobble together a few pound coins." And I was like, "This is such." But we should also mention, I mean, it is incredible that she went from Tula from Fat Peach. There is not a more unlikely superstar.
True.
Like if you had said, can you pick one person on Australian television right now that is not going to be a Hollywood star, that would have been my pick, because
it's absolutely
Fat
right.
Pizza, it was like this low budget. In Australia, we have this tradition of what you would call like ethnic comedies that was probably started in the 1980s. The kids of immigrant parents from Greece and Italy, and those kids sort of developed their own culture, and then we had this thing of these like wog comedies in the 80s and 90s, and then in the early 2000s the evolution of that was this show called Fat Pizza on SBS, which people loved. It was just like Greek and Italian, young Greek and Italian communities,
and people sort of self-mockingly exaggerating cultural characteristics, and talking about this kind of. So I think Fat Pizza was the name of like a kind of shitty, like a dirty pizza establishment in the show, as I remember.
That's right. Yeah.
Rebel Wilson played a character who was just kind of this pretty sort of un-PC, just like a kind of butt of jokes, this sort of whining, overweight.
She was I think she was the girlfriend of one of the characters, and if I remember correctly, the joke was kind of like, "Oh, he's got a sort of fat, trashy girlfriend called Tula who wears a tracksuit everywhere." Yeah. And also, I don't think she has like Mediterranean heritage, does she?
No.
But she was doing the accent. She was like, if I'm correct, she was like, "Oh yeah, Napoli, I'm gonna come down to the Fat Pizza store because I'm." Yeah,
it's true. You couldn't necessarily get away with that now, but it's.
No,
I mean that's just the first layer in the bedrock of her misdeeds. But yeah, I mean, nobody knew. Rebel Wilson, it wasn't even Wilson. She's Melanie Bounds, and that's what I think everyone should just get in the habit of calling her, just to annoy her. But anyway, so she then goes to Hollywood. She's flatmates with Matt Lucas. She's in Judd Apatow's movie. She gets a small role in Ghost Rider. does a kind of bit in the bit part in the Comedy Central show Workaholics, which I used to watch a bit. And she's hosting the ARIA Music Awards in 2010 with Matt Lucas and Russell Brand, who has also had some ups and downs, it's fair to say. And
like Matt Lucas as well is not without.
Probably is destined for his own defamation proceedings if he hasn't had them. Yeah, so Jojo Rabbit, Kung Fu Panda. I'm sure we all remember her knocking it out of the park as a Kung Fu Panda voice character. She was in Cats, which everyone loved.
Yeah, of course she was. Of course she was in Cats.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. When I was preparing for this, I thought she is kind of reminiscent of another friend of the show, James Corden. She's got the same kind of thing where she pretends to be very affable and kind of self-deprecating, but you just know there's a certain kind of nastiness that's sort of thinly veiled. That's my impression. Again, just an expression of opinion. I'm not saying that's a statement of fact. And I wish her well in her career. And somewhere along the line, Bauer Media, which is a publisher of a number of magazines, kind of gossipy magazines that you'll see, as you're checking out at the supermarket. A few of those magazines started publishing stories about Rebel Wilson's serial lying. They characterized her as a serial liar, which you and I have alluded to, including lying about, her age and her origins and various other things. And so she sued them for defamation. And she was represented by a very capable defamation barrister, Matt Collins, who I actually know. So there you go. I've got an inside tip.
Like personally, you met him?
Yeah, I've met him. He was
no way.
When I started as a barrister, he had a big role in what's called the Bar Readers course, which is the course that all barristers have to do for a few months before they start up. And when I started, Matt was sort of running that, I think. So we would see him most days and stuff. So if he should have got him on the show, really. I'm sure he wouldn't be able to talk about any of this. But if he met, if he passed me in the street, he would know who I was, which isn't yet true of Rebel Wilson. But long-term listeners will remember that when I went to London back in 2022, I did see Matt Lucas in Walthamstow. So I've got—
Is that right?
I've kind of triangulated Rebel, but I haven't— she's the only one I haven't met. Yeah. He was at the next table, just near God's Own Junkyard, the Walthamstow establishment.
Wow.
Anyway, so she sues Bauer Media and she wins. And at the time, it was a big deal, partly because defamation law was sort of relatively was kind of enjoying a lot of exposure and use as a legal tool.
Having a moment.
Yeah, exactly. It was having a moment in lawtainment circles. You had people like— you had Rebel Wilson, you had Jeffrey Rush, you had, I think, not Jason Donovan, someone like that. All these kind of Australians who were accused of being dirtbags were just suing everyone. And it's always kind of interesting, partly because it so often seems like even if you win, it's a kind of Pyrrhic victory, of course, because people experience what's known as the, Barbra Streisand effect, where sure, you might say, I'm going to sue this person for defamation, and they will opt for the truth defense, which means, they've got to produce evidence establishing on the balance of probabilities that, greater than 50% chance that what they're saying is true, which means they bring up, they bring all these witnesses in and they get them to, go on affidavit and say all these things about what a piece of shit you are, or whatever it was they defamed you by saying. And at the end, everyone thinks, well, I didn't even really know about this, but now I definitely do. And so your reputation, even if you win, I think, people go, well, all these people said these things, so there's probably something to it. So it seems rare that people get through a defamation trial and they've genuinely rescued their career or their reputation, even if they've won. It sort of always
Right.
seems like a weirdly, it almost always seems to me like the best thing to do is just to kind of move on and allow somebody to make it, cast aspersions, and just, not let it get to you, because otherwise you're just going to force the media and the public to kind of pore over the details of whatever they've said, which is just not good for anyone.
And it's my understanding as well, John, that it's much easier to sue for defamation in Australia and the UK and much more difficult in the US. And so hence there's also a bit more of a culture in the US of them just going like, yeah, fucking whatever, say what you want. I'll just like, obviously there are these types of cases that come up, like the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni thing, which maybe will even make an appearance in this episode. But
that's right.
Typically I understand that, and it makes sense too, doesn't it? It makes a bit more sense that America has that kind of like say whatever you want about me thing.
Yeah, exactly. It does. And it's a kind of weird, it's a weird area of law in that, the idea of somebody having a kind of tangible or measurable reputation that is damaged by something somebody says about them, it's a strange kind of concept. It makes you think of like, and I guess it has these roots in sort of in British law, it makes you think of like people, like gentlemen in a gentleman's club, and one of them says about the other, that says that the other is a kind of, Satanist or something. And so he can't go to the club without people turning their chairs around and not talking to him. But like these days, what does it mean? Like what, how do you, what do I know? If somebody says like John's a piece of shit, how am I going to, like, what would my evidence be that it's damaged my reputation? Because, if somebody didn't want to hang out with me, maybe they'd be like, well, did that person really want to hang out with you before? Like, who knows?
You're just very dull.
Yeah, exactly. It's not because they believe these things. They just don't care about you or that. This is sometimes what's discussed is like, in this case, as we'll see, it comes up as kind of a argument against the idea that somebody's reputation has been damaged. Anyway, back in 2016, I'll come to the end of this bit, but she wins. She gets $4.5 million in damages, which is a record, although goes to appeal. The appeal succeeds, and so Bauer only has to pay about $500,000, and in fact, she has to pay their costs of appeal. So I don't think she made much money out of that, but she did. She did get a win, and so for the time being, in 2016, allegations that she was a serial liar were put to bed, and she carried on. But then, fast forward to the early 2020s, there's a musical comedy written by Hannah Riley that was put on at a place called the Rebel Theatre, and it's like a kind of young theatre performers theatre. And so
it's not connected to her. It's not like her theatre, the Rebel Theatre.
It's named after her, I think. It's named in honor of Rebel. And I don't know whether she's got a kind of stake in it, but it's certainly, it's certainly got a connection to her to that extent. And it puts on this thing called the Deb. Now, people may not actually know what a debutante ball is who don't. I don't know how much of a thing it is in other countries, but it is a weird tradition that survives in some parts of Australia, particularly in rural Australia, where particularly teenage girls, I guess it applies to boys as well, but I always think of teenage girls, it's kind of more of a thing for them. They'll get to 15 or 16 and they'll have a Deb ball, which is kind of, traditionally is like advertising the fact that they're available to be married off,
That's right,
basically. Yeah. They're debuting as sort of eligible for suitors, which is a very sort of weird concept. But now is a kind of, it's sort of like a prom really for slightly younger kids than would go to a prom. So they get dressed up and they, maybe, go through the excitement of asking someone to go with them and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's what it's about. And it kind of plays with that. So that's, there's a kind of there's like a Melbourne City kid in it who thinks that debutante balls are a heteronormative disgrace and whatever, and so sort of laughing at this city country divide and whatever. It's supposed to be pretty good. And anyway, this A girl is in it called Charlotte McInnes. I realized in the newsletter I wrote Kylie McInnes, who's a barrister at the Victorian Bar, so I was defaming someone inadvertently in the newsletter. Her name's Charlotte McInnes, and at the time she's young, she's unknown, she's an acting school graduate. Rebel goes to see this show, The Deb, and she thinks, oh, this is great. McInnes is great. Love this story. I love sitting in my own eponymous theatre and watching great talent. And a few years later, and I guess in the ensuing years, she decides I'm going to make a film version of this musical, and so she does this comedy, which has just finished its run in theatres, I think, in Australia, The Deb, which is very much a rerun of this story, although we'll come to some of the dispute around that because Rebel had some role in, she's producing it, she's directing it, and she's also had some role in kind of adapting it. And there are other producers involved in putting it together. But she casts Charlotte McInnes in the lead role, which is this huge boon for Charlotte because she's just like a complete nobody. And I mean, even when she was in the musical, Rebel posted about her kind of fawningly on her social media, and therefore, suddenly millions of people heard the name Charlotte McInnes. So Charlotte was like, oh, this is a dream come true or whatever. Then the film goes into production and everything kind of starts to go a bit. So, I mean, it depends. This is where I guess stories diverge. Like Rebel would say, it was great. I was really professional, and everyone thought I was doing a great job. And according to Rebel, that the other producers started being one in particular, Amanda Ghost, who's a British entertainment executive, started being. And so before anything happened with Charlotte McInnes, Rebel and Amanda started sort of locking horns about a few things. We don't have to go into that, but basically, there was money, there was things on the budget that Rebel wasn't happy with, that were going to like producers' fees. There was some music licensing problems, and there was a dispute where Rebel thought she should get a writing credit, and the other producers were like, "No, let's just attribute the script to the original writer." And it went to like the Australian Writers Guild to kind of adjudicate, which doesn't necessarily reflect that well on Rebel's kind of fame hogging tendencies. But she particularly seems to have taken a strong dislike to this Amanda Ghost character. And
the producer.
And she starts, getting on her Instagram and laying into Amanda Ghost even before the film is, or kind of just
so like Rebel would do posts.
Yeah.
Like I'll do a post about Amanda Ghost and how she's
yeah, exactly. She'd say she'd put a post up saying, it's a shame that this movie's been difficult to make, and it's mostly because of Amanda Ghost, and Amanda Ghost is a piece of shit and whatever. And and it doesn't stop there. So what's alleged to have happened is, well, a couple of things. One thing that happens is during the Deb's filming, Amanda Ghost is actually living for a time, sharing an apartment with Charlotte McInnes. And as you alluded to in your introduction, they go swimming one day. The apartment is just near Bondi Beach. They've done some shooting that day, and then like early evening, they go for a swim at Bondi, as so many people have done, beloved Australian landmark. And Charlotte has this kind of weird reaction to the cold water. She claims to have a medical condition where she describes it as like an anaphylactic reaction. I mean, she broke out in hives, basically. And so they go back to to Amanda Ghost's, to both of their apartment, I guess, although I think it might have been Amanda Ghost who was really shelling out for it. And then, Charlotte's upset. She's freezing. She's got hives, and she says, "I have a medical condition." It makes you think, why did you go in the water? But anyway, they get in the bath. Or no, Charlotte gets in the bath, tries to warm up, and she can't warm up
with swimsuit on.
She's got
I believe
swimsuit on.
She's alleged. Yeah,
she's alleged to have a swimsuit on, so it's all fine. And then Charlotte says, "Oh, I'm actually a bit cold as well, and you're not warming up, so I'm going to jump in the bath with you, also with my swimsuit on."
This just sounds fun.
Sounds good. Just two consenting adults sitting in a bath with their swimsuits on. Nothing weird about that. Eventually, Charlotte warms up, I guess, and the hives go back down. And her skin smooths out again, and I guess, and then she tells Rebel about this. Rebel says something about, like, she says something about this the next day, or 2 days after, or very soon after.
Wait, who tells Rebel?
Charlotte apparently told Rebel about this whole escapade. I was at Bondi, and I almost died of hives and whatever. And Rebel sort of tells this story as though she kind of is confiding in her about something inappropriate having happened. You know, Charlotte, Amanda, got in the bath with me, and, you know, she's a pervert and whatever. And so as well as kind of alleging that Amanda's a sort of money grubbing liar, she's now starting to sort of post and talk to anyone who'll listen about how Amanda is this kind of predator. And she's sort of comparing her with
bizarre
Ghislaine Maxwell.
hives fetish.
Exactly. Her MO is to immerse sensitive people in cold water and then assault them.
To elicit a strong hives reaction.
It's only worked like twice in the whole time she's been doing it. Do you want to get in the bath? Like, no, I'm good. I'm quite comfortable.
Sorry, I derailed you there. Yeah, you were saying,
all good.
So she's basically gone on and said, yeah.
And so she starts sort of adding this to her litany of complaints about Amanda Ghost. And at some point, she is said to have enlisted the assistance of a group called the Agency Group, which is a sort of disarmingly bland-sounding name. The Agency Group, which is a crisis PR firm.
Yeah,
and
so this is who Rebels reached out to.
This is who Rebels reached out to. And I always think, you know, people who reach out to crisis PR firms, it's just a good indication that you're on the right side of history if you're doing that. And weirdly, this group was the group that is alleged to have conducted a smear campaign against Blake Lively on behalf of your friend and mine, Baldoni. And we might have to talk about that whole saga at some point in the future.
Is it sorry, just to confirm, John, is it alleged that Baldoni hired them to smear Lively, or that Lively used them to smear Baldoni?
Yeah, so basically I think it's Baldoni used them to smear Lively. That's what Lively says.
Okay.
I mean, the funny thing about Baldoni and Lively is they're just both obviously blazing guns at each other, and like, you're a piece of shit, I'm a piece of shit.
That's
of
definitely a coming.
The truth is they're both pieces
episode.
There should be an available outcome of a defamation trial where it's like, your reputations should both be ruined. The truth is you're both awful, and whatever you say about each other is true. So Rebel reaches out to TAG, the Agency Group, and there's kind of, I mean, one of the wonderful things about this whole thing is that there are, for a lawtainment guy like me, is that you can go to the Federal Court of Australia website right now and just read all this stuff from the horse's mouth, because they've got an online file with all of these audio recordings of meetings. They've got affidavits, they've got email chains, etc.
Wow.
But what's alleged to have happened is that she goes to the TAG group, and Well, I mean, this differs, I should say, from her version of events. And she says, you got to start one of these websites that I've heard all about. That I'm just trying to find the exact. Just give me a sec.
Rebel's like, I'm hearing things about websites.
Yeah.
I'm hearing good things about websites.
I hear good things. I hear the internet is a good place to defame people. Can you guys help me out? And they say, 100%, you come to the right
Boy,
place.
can we?
Yeah. And
we got
so
it
they
all.
have this
HTML, JavaScript. What do you need, baby? Just opening their trench coat.
Exactly. Well, it sort of does end up like that. I mean, it's sort of like people who are kind of doing this for the first time in their lives, because two websites get created by someone. I don't have a view as to who. One of them is amandaghostsucks.com, which is great.
So good.
And then one of them is just amandaghost.com. And then they're basically repositories of accusations about Amanda, featuring this kind of line of accusation that she's a sexual predator and that, Charlotte McInnes told Rebel about it, blah, blah, blah. And allegedly, there were texts and emails between the tag agency staff. So this employee, Katie Case, was told by her boss, Melissa Nathan, that Wilson wanted one of, quote, those sites. She says it can be really harsh, making her, that is Amanda Ghost, a madam, basically. And then Case says, oh, my God, lol, okay, this one will be fun, which admittedly it would have been fun. I would love to draft one of those websites. And one of the interesting things that has happened in the course of the trial is that Rebel, of course, says, well, I don't know anything about this website. And we might actually, I don't know if we want to bring up an extract from the 60 Minutes interview, but she did this interview with 60. Yeah. Well, should we go to that? Because I think that's
I'll find it.
Yeah.
I'm just giggling to myself, John, thinking that there's somebody at Tag whose job it is. They just put them on the sucks.com websites. We've got another sucks. We've got another blah, blah, blah sucks.com for you to jump on.
It's true. Yeah. Don't overthink it. Just if Amanda Ghost Sucks isn't taken, just do that.
This is probably a sort of slightly boring, webby, technical question as well. But when I saw that she'd put like weird websites up, I mean, I so rarely go on weird websites now that I was thinking, I was wondering, and maybe somebody can let us know at hello@dptm.org. I wonder if they were just using them for like SEO to basically load the websites with terms that would then get scraped by other internet tools. And so when you go and look up Amanda Ghost, particularly with LLMs these days, that if you were to put into an LLM like ChatGPT, what's Amanda Ghost like? It will have likely scraped, because there can't be that much information on her otherwise. She's not a widely known person. Exactly. So then if there's just these two sources that live in the background of the internet and there's web crawlers scraping them, I wonder if that was a lot of the strategy. But yeah, you sent me...
Like who goes to... you go to Amanda Ghost Sucks and it's got like a picture, a kind of GIF of her with a witch's hat on and a little visitor counter and maybe the weather forecast.
With a little 3-frame fireworks GIF, animated GIF. Or was Rebel Wilson like paying Jake Paul to put AmandaGhostSucks.com on his boxing shorts or something like that?
That's right. Exactly. Putting it on, getting the state.com boys to go to direct people to AmandaGhostSucks.com.
So hang on, so I'll bring up, so after all of these allegations were made, Rebel does an interview with 60 Minutes Australia.
Yeah.
And they put these questions to her, some of them saying, hey, there's these wacky websites out there. Did you have anything to do with those?
And I just love this. I love watching this because, I mean, listeners and viewers can make up their own minds about whether Rebel is coming off as a credible interviewee here. But I love some of the answers and just some of the body language and some of the phraseology that she uses that sounds a bit lawyerly, I think.
She definitely answers the questions directly in a way that makes you trust her.
Right. It's very rare for a case like this to get to court and for both sides to kind of air out their dirty laundry in front of everyone.
One of the dirtiest bits was a smear campaign which Rebel is accused of orchestrating. A series of websites where Amanda Ghost is painted as a sex trafficker and described as the Indian Ghislaine Maxwell.
Obviously, I had zero to do with the websites. I don't even know how to create a website. I had nothing to do with what was on it. I read it like a lot of people in the business did. But obviously it's categorically false to say that I had anything to do with it.
Well, it's not saying that you made the websites, but the allegation is that on the 6th of August you requested your publicist to register and publish a series of malicious websites about Ghost.
Yeah, that is absolutely untrue.
So the publicist in email to a co-worker said, so basically Rebel wants one of those sites. Goes on to say, it can be really, really harsh. Russian oligarchs and making her a madam, basically. Laugh out loud or lol. So that's the allegation, that you asked your publicist to set up one of these
Wasn't my
websites.
publicist, was a woman who worked for my lawyer at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So did you or your lawyer do this?
No, definitely not.
So why is your name linked to it? Why does she say Rebel?
I have no idea. I don't know whether those texts are real. I don't know where they came from. I read the websites. I think it was very interesting what was on there. And I might have gossiped about it to a couple friends. But
Well, the allegation is that you did more than that you actually pointed your followers on Instagram to those websites, that you ensured that associates of Amanda Ghost were made aware of the websites, that you posted on the Deb Instagram.
I don't have any memory of doing that, no.
Don't have any memory.
She keeps looking to the side as well. It's so bad.
And then the interview goes, well, did you not? Is it possible you did do it? And you just can't remember?
I can just play the edge on it.
Yeah.
Is it you don't remember it, but is it possible that you did that?
I don't believe so, no. No.
Don't believe so.
She?
Why wouldn't you just say no if that's not what happened? No, I don't have any memory of it.
I've
often thought about that whole thing where witnesses say, I don't have any memory, because I guess you could say to yourself, well, if I just think about something else, like hot dogs, I don't have a memory of it at the moment.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't recall it because I'm not trying to. So it's not in my head. So it's true in a way that I don't remember it.
I love the it's such a great line, isn't it? I wouldn't even know how to make a website.
I love that.
So
no one's
good.
saying you're coding for amandagosucks.com.
It's the idea that you'd be accused of murdering someone with a gun and saying, look, I wouldn't know the first thing about manufacturing a rifle.
Exactly right. Yeah. If you gave me a gun.
I don't know anything about steel. I don't know anything about smelting. How do you expect me to kill a person? How would I get a gun?
Yeah.
I can't make it myself.
Exactly right. Yeah. How would I even obtain a gun without any metallurgical training? So she's
there's a bit of an answer to one of the questions that I had there. She was pointing people. She was like feeding traffic from her own Instagram. She's going, "Oh, look what I found! Look what I found! Go to this website."
Yeah, exactly. Now, there's been a bit of development in that since that interview was conducted, and part of this is we're talking about we're focusing at least on one particular legal proceeding, which is Charlotte McInnes suing Rebel for defamation. And there are others. Because of this feud with Amanda Ghost, there's, you know, the producers are, I think, separately suing Rebel for defamation. They're also suing her for breach of contract, or maybe her production company. So there's a few different, some of them in Australia, I think maybe some in the US, a few different proceedings going on. And some of what's come out has come out in those other proceedings. And part of that is this development. So what happened is they scraped the servers of TAG, the agency group, to find out, you know, obviously you can actually find out, did someone from Rebel's camp contact them and ask them to do this, and what do the emails say and whatever. And they found this document which contains some of what is on amandagosucks.com, like some of the text, as though it's kind of been drafted and put up on the website. And they looked at the metadata of the document, and the last people to edit it were people associated with Camp Sugar, which is Rebel Wilson's production company. So that's a bit, a little bit damning, you might say. Even though she herself is not a skilled website designer, I think you've got to think, well, someone in your, maybe without Rebel knowing, maybe she's an innocent bystander. Someone's been editing this documents, with this material, which has subsequently gone on this website. And I love during the interview how she's saying, on the one hand, I didn't do this, categorically false, but I did find it really interesting what was on the website.
Yeah, and what a weird thing to add. Why would you do that?
And a lot of people in Hollywood read the website, and maybe she's just shy of saying, and can I just advise your viewers, it's a great website. Go to amandagosucks.com. It's really cutting edge stuff.
She's just also just in the interview in court going, I have no recollection of that production company that I started.
Exactly.
I don't recall. Sugar.
To be having some memory problems. Anyway, so she's alleged to have set up this website, and that's one of the delightful things that's come out, and came out again in the Charlotte McInnes trial, which is just finished, by the way, this defamation trial we're talking about. But during that, they brought up again this, and apparently they did this live thing in court where they had it on a screen, and you know, the barrister said, okay, well, here's the metadata. It says here, you know, Camp Sugar, and we all know that's Rebel Wilson's production company. So there you go. And Charlotte McInnes is being represented by this woman, Sue Chrysanthe, who's basically the kind of top gun of defamation law, who really went to town on Rebel in this trial, calling her a fantastical liar and saying that she's just a dirtbag and everything that she touches gets tarnished and blah, blah, blah. And what I guess what McInnes is saying is, you know, I'm this young, well, so maybe just to complete the story. So what Rebel is alleged to have said about Amanda Ghost is obviously that she was abusing people, including Charlotte McInnes, in that sort of bath incident. Charlotte then comes out and says, well, that's not right. That I never told Rebel. I told Rebel that story, but I never told her it was like sinister or it made me uncomfortable. I just told her like, this is a weird thing that happened. And I didn't mean by that weird in the sense that I was preyed on. And, you know, I don't say that about Amanda Ghost at all. And then Rebel starts saying, including on her social media, oh, well, Charlotte's just saying that because they've offered her, you know, career incentives if she shuts her mouth about what happened. And she's a liar and she's doing anything. She's kind of betraying women who are going through these things by not, I guess that's the insinuation, by not being truthful about what happened to her. And Rebel sort of casting herself, including at this trial, as a, quote, truth teller and as someone who stands up for women and blah, blah, blah. So that's when Charlotte McInnes says, I'm going to sue you for defamation because you've made me out to be a kind of career-hungry liar. And
which is like damaging to my career.
Exactly. Damaging to my career. She points to the fact that she hasn't...
Just if I could also ask John, so like Ghost Ghost didn't sue her. Ghost was just like, whatever. But Ghost is involved in McInnes's defamation case.
Ghost, I think, has separately sued her. So this is a separate.
Okay.
There's litigation going on in the US as well, I think, and there are other proceedings that are still to happen in Australia, and some of them are just about like money stuff to do with the production, but some of them I think might be to do with Ghost saying that she was defamed. So we'll be seeing more from these multiple proceedings. So Rebel's really made a bit of a dog's breakfast for herself. Meanwhile, Deb's come out. It's gotten good reviews, but it's done quite poorly, as you might imagine. And it only made a few $100,000 from or in Australia at least, from like a $22 million budget. So it's got to do fairly well on the streaming platforms to break even, I would think. Yeah. And so it finished, of course, with these kind of, closing submissions from both parties, and Sue Chrysanthou saying she was a total liar and a dreadful person and all this stuff. And it was, interestingly, a bit of a sign of the times, the federal court, which I don't think would have done this pre-COVID, but they kind of were forced to become much more tech savvy in the last 5 years. So they broadcast the whole thing, they live streamed the whole thing on their YouTube channel. And so you could go and you could tune in at 10:30 in the morning and watch Rebel Wilson in the witness box just Sue Chrysanthou saying, "Why are you such a dreadful person?" And she'd say, "I'm not." And it was, I kind of wasn't aware of that until things were pretty much over, sadly. But it was there to be watched. And as I've said, you can go to the federal court website now and kind of download all these exciting documents. It's currently what they call reserved, where the judge says, "All right, well, I need to go away and think about what my decision will be." And we might not get a decision for a while. I don't know how quickly that'll happen, but Her Honour is currently considering the judgment. Obviously, we'll get her and Charlotte on the show in due course when that decision's made, and everyone can be a bit more unguarded.
If Charlotte wins, she'll get paid like millions of dollars in damages.
That's right. So she's saying, I haven't been offered any roles since the Deb, and it's because of you casting me as a troublemaker. And, obviously Rebel's team is saying, well, who knows whether you would have gotten roles or not if it wasn't for all of this. So they're saying there's nothing in it. We weren't meaningfully defaming you anyway. But if we were, their secondary argument is if we were, then those allegations were true. So they've either got to show that what we said, didn't damage your reputation, or if it did, that, it was justified because it's true, which is where the court's going to have to get involved in these, actual factual findings about what happened. And is Rebel Wilson someone who, pays tag to make fake websites about people and just is a serial liar, which is interesting because she's obviously won this defamation proceeding 10 years ago, establishing that she's not a serial liar. A lot of what was originally found in her favor was reversed on appeal. So she was found to have been defamed, I think, on a much narrower basis than what was found at trial. Hence the cutting down of the amount in damages to, a fraction of what it was initially. But it's still kind of remembered as a success, I guess, by her and her people, and through their efforts by the rest of us, you might think. So if this doesn't go her way, then it'll be interesting. She might have to go back to the cast of Fat Pizza and say, is anyone interested in a reboot?
She's all thin Tula.
That's right. Yeah, she's
GLP-1 Tula.
GLP-1 Tula. Exactly.
She would play.
Yeah, that's right. Fat Pizza Redux sponsored by Ozempic. So yeah, that'll be an interesting thing. Of course, if Charlotte wins, it'd be interesting to see, because apparently she's a really good actress and does a great job in the Deb. So I hope that this hasn't permanently up her career. And of course, I don't play favourites. I just want the right outcome as a matter of law. But I wish them both. I wish them both well.
I have a question. What's your exposure to Rebel Wilson's litigious nature being in Australia, and what's mine? I'm an Australian citizen, but I'm a resident of Germany. But we have is it about where our podcast is based? I don't even know where our podcast is based. Can she come after me?
Oh, I see what you mean. Like, who's she going to sue for defamation? Yeah, I guess she could come after you, and
really,
maybe you'd have to consent to it.
Why is that?
I suppose because this podcast is being, has an Australian presence, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how that would work. She'd probably have to sue our umbrella company, DPTM Enterprises, and we would be named, and our producer would be named as individual defendants. But yeah, that's a good question. I think she could. I mean, I think the reality is I'm much more exposed than you are.
I knew that going into this episode,
and I knew that going in. I've got to renew my legal practicing certificate in about a month. But we'll see if I make it that far. Maybe
that'd be such good media coverage for you, though. You would never have to work again. You would get a role in the Australian media straight away.
Oh, yeah.
That would be the ultimate Streisand effect. Imagine, we try so hard to get media attention and to try and get eyes and ears on the podcast. Imagine if the front page of The Age and The Guardian was just Melbourne barrister has a comedy podcast where they did quite a funny episode about Rebel, and then she sued them.
Come on, Rebel. Give it a crack. Give a bit of love our way. That would be interesting. And look, I'm always kind of ambivalent about whether I want to continue as a barrister, and this would be a wonderful way to ride into the sunset.
Just mic drop getting sued by Rebel Wilson for your comedy podcast. Just sitting in the courtroom going, I don't care. I don't even care about any of this.
Did you defame me? Yeah, probably, yeah. Probably, yeah.
Crossing your arms.
Just going. Well, I probably did, but for anyone interested in my weekly newsletter, dptm.org, just put your email down.
You can stay up. You can keep abreast with all of my defamation through that newsletter.
Exactly.
I'm defaming people every week at dptm.org.
It's true. I have seen trials where people are doing that as the trial's going on, and then so this famously happened, I think, in I can't remember what the context was, but it happened in Australia a few years ago. Somebody was sending these vicious tweets about the lawyers while the trial was happening. It might have been to do with the kind of union dispute or something. And then court started, and the barrister said, I just want to take you to this tweet that was posted overnight. Is this your account?
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And it was like, this guy's a complete, dirt bag and a predator and this and that. He's just reading this out in court, and the witness is just going, yeah, sorry, I did write that. Just like about the person who was questioning him. So that'd be me. I'd be saying, can you just stop defaming for long enough to resolve these current allegations, please? Maybe I'll start a website called amandaghostrocks.com about just giving my own version of events.
AmandaGhostHero.com.
Amanda Ghost Hero.
Speaking of websites, John, if you've enjoyed this week's episode and you want to support the podcast, the best way you can do it is on our Patreon, DPTM. It's patreon.com/DPTM, or just search Don't Praise the Machine. Patreon, you get the episodes one day early. Get our special once a month bonus Don't Praise the Machine After Dark episode. And we have some little merch packs on the way to people right now. John has created a selection of playing cards, and I have helped create a selection of stickers.
Yeah, it's great. I've got my vinyl printing paper. I've got my hard plastic collector card holders, and I'm just posting them off to our subscribers. It's great. And of course, the top tier subscribers get their very own Don't Praise the Machine t-shirts, which people have been wearing around for a while now. They've matured into having a lovely patina at this stage, which I love to see.
Beautiful. That was great. That was a great ep, John. I enjoyed that very much, and we will keep people abreast of. I mean, I'm sure that's going to be an email, the outcome of that
for sure.
trial. And this is one of the great crossover areas of the podcast, lawtainment, as we call it. Your expertise as a barrister, plus celebrities, plus weird
uses of PR, smear campaigns, and websites. Yeah. It's nice to see just the good old fashioned humble website still doing its thing.
Just a little text-based .com website back in the attention of the world. Beautiful. Thank you so much, everybody, and we can't wait to see you next week.
The podcast.